Chloe Everhart, one of the moderators of the SLV Just Us page, divides the off-gridders in the San Luis Valley into three broad groups: people interested in building sustainable and eco-based communities, retired or poor folks who want to be left alone, and individuals with sovereign beliefs. The challenge was that there wasn't a clear consensus about whether our goal was just to not have these code changes passed that were going to make things difficult for people who were poor, disabled, or frugal, explains Chloe Everhart. There were other people who said this is our opportunity to really create this sovereign world. There were a few people who were incredibly vocal about that. It was hard to get work done when they were around. Chloe Everhart did her best to bridge the divides, but the differences ran deep at commissioner meetings on September 9th and 15th, 2015. That's 7 years ago, a little bit more than 7 years ago. Dozens of residents packed administrative offices in San Luis, the county seat of Costilla County, the oldest town in Colorado, and the gatherings quickly turned ugly. Some of the discord stemmed from the fact that Costilla County has no public land, dating back to an 1844 Mexican land grant that consisted of nearly 1 million acres along the present-day Colorado and New Mexico border. During the past century and a half, much of that land was brought up and subdivided by wealthy landowners, beginning with William Gilpin, Colorado's first territorial governor, in 1864, and later by the likes of the Forbes family, which owned hundreds of thousands of acres in the northern portion of the county. San Luis's predominantly Hispanic population has had little control over the subdividing and development that have occurred over the years, and while a handful of landowners accumulated vast tracts of land, Costilla County become one of the poorest counties in the nation, with 28.2% of its population currently living in poverty. That's according to the 2016 U.S. Census. It hasn't changed. It's pretty much the same in the 2022, so 6 years later. It's the same in the 1990s, and it's probably always been like that. The perception of outsiders taking over was reinforced when Zachary Taylor, a white rancher from North Carolina, inherited a 77,500 acre tract of land from his father that locals refer to as the La Sierra, and began logging operations on his property, which some residents claim threatened water sources that irrigate the valley. Mountain of Trouble, July 6, 1994. The Taylor family closed off access to locals who believed they were being denied their ancestral rights to hunt, fish, and graze on the land after the state of Colorado made a failed bid to purchase the land for $12 million in 1997. The issue was only partially settled when a private LLC bought the land from Taylor in 1999, and the Colorado Supreme Court ruled in 2002 that some Hispanic heirs would be allowed access to the property. In the local publication La Sierra, writer Maria Martinez charged that there was a racial element to the 2015 county commissioner meetings. After the September 15th meeting, opposing sides milled in front of the meeting room. The desert dwellers proposed talking about one of two code enforcement officers who appears menacing because she never takes her hand off of her gun when she goes about her job. Locals, who were derisively called Mexicans by the desert dwellers, defended the officer's work and her actions. The desert dwellers, derisively called Guerrero, insisted that they're part of the local community. This claim was opposed by locals. Ben Doon, the county administrator for Costilla County, denies that race played a major role at the meetings. He does, however, acknowledge that sovereign ideology gained a small yet notable foothold in the county because of the events in late 2015. The most vocal opponents of the land use code were a few individuals associated with the Patriot armed militia movement. Roger Marsh, who describes himself to neighbors as a door kicker and a trigger puller. Oh, okay. I thought it was at Costly. So Roger Marsh, he's a door kicker and a trigger puller. Get in touch with the self-appointed judge. Doucette invited him to the San Luis Valley to teach off-gridders how to fight the county officials. In October 2015, Bruce Doucette made the trip for an event billed on social media as Meet the Judge. The rendezvous point was a steel bridge over a remote part of the Rio Grande, where Doucette explained to the crowd why he believed that Costilla County was violating their sovereign rights. The rendezvous point is the Lobato Bridge, so that's just right there connecting Conejos County and Costilla County. It's where the Rio Grande, the beginnings of the Rio Grande, goes right there. It's only, it looked like the river was a lot higher, but it's only maybe 5 foot deep, maybe 20 feet wide. Marsh was arrested on a weapons charge a short time later. Interesting, the SLV Just Us group disbanded, and the county decided to drop some of its proposed land use changes, but the sovereign movement continued to play a role in Costilla County politics. Now, let's take a break here, and let's do some investigating. So we know that the McDonald's, I want to keep this right-wing sovereign movement motherfucking bullshit out of Costilla County once and for all. Keep this, just fucking keep all of this shit. So I want to know about who's been committing all the crimes. You got, non-stop crimes that were happening beforehand and crimes that I had witnessed when I was over there. Who is doing this? Just the other day there was a couple shots. And so what I have found, the culmination of my research, the McDonald's lived in Costilla County 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017. They lived there for 4 to 5 years. 4 to 5 years. And, October 1st is when he's going to get sentenced. And then 2013, that was an approximate. There was an article, 2015 article, they said they got there 2 years earlier. So about from 2013 to 2017 is when Samantha and Xanis McDonald lived in Costilla County. They came from Pennsylvania and Alabama. They had a warrant out for their arrest. So, and we see that the big name sovereigns, most of them, it seems like I don't see them owning any property. Vince Edwards, Jeremy Jessica D. Costley, Bruce Doucette, they don't own property out there. Roger Marsh with a D. There's no Roger Marsh listed with a D. Chloe Everhart. I'm not sure how she could have just been, I'm not sure how deep. So it looks like to me, the McDonald's are gone, the Costleys are gone, most of the fucking right-wing movement is gone. But there's local active criminal sons of bitches out there. Motherfuckers that don't care about the law, don't care about the Constitution, don't care about voting, don't care about civil society, don't care. Just don't give a shit. So I'm looking at the local people. When did they buy their properties in Costilla County? And which one of these people could have been friends with the McDonald's? So here's a list of names. Adam Clayton, Troy and Marcy Zinn, Kenny Capon, Amy Harrington and Melissa Shimkovitz, Stacy Allen Heath and Kelly McMichael, Robert Roman, Aiden Zeriel Heckman and Kevin Bertini, Samuel Lee Jepson, Cynthia Lee, Hiram Richardson, Jacqueline P. Mitchell, Nick Villela, Edward C. Brewster, James E. Bax and Eunice F. Bowman. So October 22nd, 2022 is the 25th today. So just 3 days ago, little Xanis fired a couple rifle shots out here. And then some other stuff was happening just 3 days prior to that. So what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on? So let's go back up. Now, I just listed the names. These are the neighbors. Now I'm going to make the connection between when they bought the property. Did they know the person? Did they have an opportunity to get to know the person? James E. Bax and Eunice F. Bowman, that's the RV junkyard on Huron Trail. There was a yellow vehicle that used to drive over there. There was a major incident that had happened over there, but it's been cleaned up. Now, they could have known them for a year and a half. Why? Because James E. Bax and Eunice F. Bowman, they bought that property March 21st, 2016, and then they recorded it 7 days later. So they could have known the McDonald's for a year and a half. They lived right there. They lived right there next to the McDonald's, not just 2-3 blocks away for a year and a half. So every time they drove to the store, every time they went to Antonito or went to Alamosa, they drove on Seminole Trail. They drove right past that household. And there's only 10 people out there, so I'd be hard-pressed to think that they didn't know something about them. They didn't know anything. Or maybe you all were best friends and you knew a lot of stuff. Edward C. Brewster, Old Man Ed out there. P.O. Box, 990, Antonito, Colorado, 81120. The sale date, he bought that property in 2005, March 29th, 2005, and then recorded it that same day. That's how you should do it, right? Buy it the same day, record it the same day. That's right on the Seminole Trail, 2962 parcel number 715-17170. Let's see here. The James Bax, Eunice Bowman, P.O. Box 34, for future reference, right? If we got to send them some legal papers. 715-20140, so that way you know where I'm talking about. All the dates and or the addresses, it's all scattered out there, so it's actually probably best to look at the parcel number and just go out there. You should. If I'm the sheriff, I want to know everybody. And can you really know a man or woman if you haven't seen the inside of their house? So Edward C. Brewster, he lived on Seminole Trail, 2962. He could have known the McDonald's the entire time as well, for 4 to 5 years. Nick Villela. Now, Edward never talked about it, but Nick Villela had mentioned a couple of things. Nick Villela liked the word sovereign, so I'm not sure where he was leading with that. Why was he talking about the word sovereign? Nick Villela talked about knowing the McDonald's. Nick Villela talked about sovereign. Nick Villela knew Jacqueline Mitchell, who committed crimes against me. Also knows Hiram. So, Nick Villela, 1155 War Eagle Trail. He lives not, 2 country blocks away. 2 country blocks away. If he gets into his vehicle, he could have been at the McDonald's house in less than a minute. Nick Villela, parcel 715-23550, P.O. Box 971, Antonito, Colorado 81120. He also has a copy of Mein Kampf in his house. So my ultimate judgment on Nick Villela is that he's probably not a part of the greater movement, but was a hermit. But if the movement had got to him, then he probably would have been on board. He just kind of seems like he sticks to himself and doesn't have many friends here and there. You can have a copy. I've read Mein Kampf, and the reason why I read it was to know thy enemy. I'm not for sure why you're allowed to have a copy of the book, but when I pulled the book out to read it, he didn't seem interested in reading it. You pull any of my books out and you want to read one of my books, I will listen to you read to me, and we'll have a conversation about the books. My God, that'd be the greatest day of my life. June 26, 2012, recorded on July 11th, 2012. So Nick Villela owned that property out there, P.O. Box 971, if we need to use future reference 81120. So he's got, and that's another thing, out there, if you're off grid, how did they get a Antonito? Some of these people have Manassas, a post office box in Antonito, post office box in Manassas, post office box in Horoso. Some have a post office box in San Luis. They all live right next to each other. So why did everybody have different post office boxes all over the different places? He seemed like he was pro Second Amendment until I told him that Hitler, when I opened up Mein Kampf, I read a passage where Hitler was talking about being for gun control. And then he seemed to be for gun control afterwards. And then he also called the diarrhea of Anne Frank the diarrhea of Anne Frank. So I think he hasn't embraced goodness. He's not my friend. I'm not going to vouch for him. But if I was to, guess whether or not he's dangerous, I would say no. But he knows more than what he lets on. In fact, they all know more than what they let on. And he could have known the McDonald's. He did know the McDonald's. And he could have known the McDonald's the entire time. They lived right down the road for 4 to 5 years. He lived there the entire time. So he would have been the veteran. They would have moved into his neck of the woods. So he was there the whole time. He definitely knew them for a little bit of the time. And possibly for 5 years straight. Jacqueline P. Mitchell, 715-24030 parcel. That's she's got it listed as 1780 Delaware Trail. Mine is 4153 Delaware Trail. But we live on the same block. Why does she live at the 1700 block and I live at the 4100 block? Well, on Google Maps, the parcel right next to me that used the address of 4151. And so I just bumped it up one. I didn't know what her address was, but just to let you know how crazy the address system is, and that was the physical address. She bought it November 12th, 2015, recorded it November 30th, 2015. So she would have known